Around 85% of individuals experience struggles with low self-esteem, often linked to negative self-talk at some point in their lives. Now, that's a figure significant enough to make us pause and ask, what's going on in our minds? Today, we're diving into a subject that is both challenging and transformative: eliminating negative thinking. This isn't just about quieting the inner critic, it's about empowering ourselves to lead more fulfilling lives. In the world of Stoicism, we uncover a profound insight. Our thoughts are not just faint murmurs in the mind, but the loud voices that shape our happiness and suffering. Stoic philosophy teaches us that, while the world may not always align with our desires, our perception of it is something we control entirely. The Stoics were more than just ancient philosophers. They were mental warriors, fighting the tyranny of uncontrolled thoughts and emotions with rationality and inner calm. Today, I'm here to help you understand how these negative thoughts affect us and explore practical Stoic strategies to counter them. We'll discover how to use the power of our minds to build a life that's not bound by negativity, but instead driven by the virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. If you're feeling skeptical, I encourage you to stay with me. This may challenge some of your most deeply held beliefs, but it will also open the door to a new era of personal growth. Before we dive in, I invite you to share this video with others on their own paths of personal growth and philosophical exploration. And if you're enjoying the insights we're uncovering together and want to support our exploration of Stoicism, all I ask is that you take a moment to hit the subscribe button. Let's get started. Understanding the problem. Negative thinking isn't just an occasional annoyance or a brief bad mood. It's a widespread issue that can deeply affect every area of our lives. From the way we feel when we wake up in the morning to the choices we make regarding our health, careers, and relationships, these thoughts can be paralyzing. But what exactly is negative thinking? At its core, it's a pattern where we expect the worst, undermine our own efforts, and often believe we are less capable or deserving than we truly are. So why do we fall into this trap? The Stoic philosophers believed it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but how we interpret them. Epictetus famously said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." This perspective lies at the heart of understanding the issue of negative thinking. It's not necessarily reality that limits us, it's the way we perceive it. Carl Jung's exploration of the mind offers additional insight. He recognized that much of our negative thinking originates from the less conscious aspects of our psyche, specifically the personal and collective unconscious. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." By bringing these unconscious beliefs and biases into conscious awareness, we can start to reduce their influence over us. Think for a moment about how this impacts our daily lives. When confronted with a challenge, negative thinking can make us feel defeated before we even begin, preventing us from taking the necessary steps that could lead to success. It's like rowing a boat with all your strength, only to realize you're still anchored to the shore. You're working hard, but not getting anywhere. Stoicism teaches us to examine our thoughts critically and logically, questioning the validity of these negative assumptions. In his Meditations, Marcus Aurelius urges us to reflect on our thoughts carefully and reject those that are irrational or unhelpful. This introspection enables us to detach from harmful thinking patterns and regain control over our mental landscape. Let's not overlook the influence of our cultural and societal environment. In a world flooded with messages about not being enough, whether it's not being successful enough, rich enough, or smart enough, it's easy to see why negative thoughts emerge. These messages often find fertile ground in our minds, growing weeds of doubt and insecurity that stifle our potential. However, Stoicism provides us with the tools to clear these weeds away and nurture a garden of more supportive, empowering thoughts. The issue of negative thinking is what we're addressing today. It's not just about dismissing or avoiding negative thoughts, but truly understanding them, questioning them thoroughly, and replacing them with reasoned, constructive thinking. This Stoic approach isn't just about coping, it's about thriving. By mastering our thoughts, we master our perceptions, and in turn, we master our lives. So, as we continue, let's remember that every thought we choose to accept and every thought we choose to challenge is a step toward the life we genuinely want to live. Origins of negative thinking. To effectively address negative thinking, understanding its origins is crucial. This is more than just recognizing bad habits. It's about uncovering the deep-seated roots that shape how we perceive the world and influence our mental landscape. Negative thoughts can arise from various sources: our upbringing, societal pressures, past failures, and sometimes even the seemingly trivial comments from those around us. Each of these can plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, which can eventually grow into a persistent negativity. From an early age, many of us are exposed to environments that may not encourage healthy self-esteem. Think of a child who is constantly told they're not smart enough, or an educational system that seems to reward only perfection. These experiences can deeply affect our worldview. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. If we apply this idea to the mind, we see that repeated negative thoughts can become a habit of viewing ourselves and our abilities in a diminished way. Our own experiences of failure and rejection further reinforce these negative beliefs. Each time we face a setback or receive criticism, it can feed into a negative internal dialogue that says, "I knew I couldn't do it." This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, not because we lack ability, but because we start acting in ways that align with these negative beliefs. Plato's concept that reality is created by the mind, that we can change our reality by changing our mindset, is particularly relevant here. By examining and challenging how we interpret these events, we can begin to dismantle the foundation of our negative thinking. Fear plays a significant role in fostering negative thoughts. It's a natural protective mechanism, but often it spirals into excessive worry or anxiety, clouding our rational judgment. Fears of failure, the unknown, and rejection can all trigger catastrophic thinking, where the mind jumps to the worst possible outcomes. Stoicism offers a tool to counter this: the premeditation of evils, which involves vividly imagining the worst-case scenario to lessen its emotional impact when or if it actually happens. Carl Jung also noted that, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Many of our negative thoughts are rooted in unconscious beliefs formed in our early years, shaped by our caregivers, teachers, and the media. These unconscious beliefs often go unchallenged because they aren't fully recognized by our conscious mind. By bringing them to light, we can diminish their power and regain control over our thoughts. Furthermore, we cannot ignore societal and cultural pressures. We live in a world that often emphasizes scarcity and competition, setting impossibly high standards that can feel unattainable. This environment promotes constant comparisons, fostering feelings of inadequacy. Stoicism teaches us to shift our focus from external validation to internal virtues, encouraging us to measure success by our personal growth rather than by how we stack up against others. The roots of negative thinking are multifaceted, involving personal history, emotional experiences, ingrained fears, and societal messages. However, by drawing on the wisdom of both Western philosophy and psychology, Particularly the Stoic emphasis on controlling our perceptions and reactions, we can begin to understand and unravel these negative thought patterns. This deeper understanding not only helps minimize their impact, but also empowers us to rebuild our mental framework in a more positive and resilient way. Renew your mind. When we talk about renewing our minds, we're not simply suggesting a temporary effort to think more positively. What we're advocating for is a deep, lasting transformation of our internal dialogue. This is about cultivating a mindset that allows us not just to survive, but to thrive. The Stoic philosophers offer timeless wisdom on how to achieve this, through the disciplined practice of reflecting on our thoughts and deliberately shaping them to promote resilience and peace. A key principle of Stoicism is that our emotions and reactions are the result of our judgments, and those judgments are within our power to change. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor and philosopher, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This powerful statement reminds us that renewal begins with taking control of our thoughts, scrutinizing them for accuracy, and aligning them with our true intentions and values. Aristotle offers valuable insight here as well. He said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." This introspective journey involves digging into our thought patterns and distinguishing those that serve us from those that sabotage us. By becoming more aware of our thoughts, we can start challenging the negative ones that may have become ingrained over time. This process of examining and changing our thoughts isn't about denying our emotions, but about understanding them more deeply and managing them more effectively. Moreover, Carl Jung's insights into the human psyche complement Stoic wisdom beautifully. Jung argued that what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. Instead of resisting negative thoughts, Stoicism teaches us to acknowledge them, analyze their origin, and assess their truthfulness. This approach prevents these thoughts from festering in the shadows of our unconscious mind, where they can grow unchecked. Renewing the mind also involves engaging with materials and activities that nourish positivity and growth. This could include reading philosophical texts that challenge our thinking, engaging with art that inspires us, or simply taking time for reflection and meditation. These activities offer new narratives and perspectives that can replace our old, unhelpful stories. Socrates emphasized the importance of living an examined life, and this is key here. By continually reflecting on our beliefs and the thoughts they generate, we engage in a process of mental renewal that keeps our minds sharp and our spirits aligned with our philosophical goals. This ongoing self-examination isn't just a task, it's a way of living that keeps our internal world refreshed and in harmony with the reality of our experiences. Plato also highlighted the significance of aligning with the forms, the ideal versions of justice, beauty, and goodness. In a similar way, renewing our minds can be seen as an effort to align our thoughts with the most virtuous and empowered versions of ourselves. By striving toward these ideals, we create a self-concept that is strong, compassionate, and profoundly wise. To put all of this into practice, we can start each day with a simple affirmation or a Stoic reflection that sets the tone for the kind of thoughts we want to cultivate. Whether it's a quote from Epictetus about the power of our responses, or a Jungian mantra that reminds us of the strength in facing our shadows, these daily practices form the building blocks of a renewed mind. Surround yourself with positivity. This principle involves making conscious choices about our environment, the people, places, and media we engage with, that support and nurture our mental and emotional well-being. As Seneca wisely advised, associate with people who are likely to improve you. This guidance encourages us to be selective about the company we keep, fostering relationships that inspire us and challenge us to grow. Aristotle also touched on the importance of our social circle, particularly when discussing friendship. He categorized friendships into three types: those of utility, pleasure, and the good. The highest form, the friendship of the good, is rooted in mutual respect and admiration of each other's virtues. These are the relationships that motivate us to become better versions of ourselves. They are inherently positive because they are based on a shared pursuit of virtue and excellence. Moreover, Plato's allegory of the cave offers profound insight into how our environment shapes our perception of reality. Those trapped in the cave believed the shadows on the walls were the only truth, as it was all they had ever seen. But when one of them escapes and experiences the world outside, he realizes the limits of his previous understanding and achieves a higher level of knowledge. This metaphor beautifully illustrates how expanding our environment to include positive and enlightening influences can radically shift our perspective and understanding. Carl Jung's concepts of the collective unconscious and archetypes also shed light on the importance of surrounding ourselves with positivity. Jung believed that our psyche is shaped by shared memories and cultural ideas, what he called the collective unconscious. These shared elements influence how we view the world and ourselves. By consciously choosing environments that are supportive and positive, we can alter the archetypes that dominate our personal stories, shifting from those of fear and inadequacy to those that embody strength and self-actualization. In practical terms, surrounding ourselves with positivity means more than simply being around cheerful people. It involves engaging with content and activities that reinforce our philosophical and life goals. It includes participating in communities, both online and offline, where discussions are centered on encouragement and constructive feedback, rather than criticism and negativity. It requires us to be mindful of the media we consume, choosing books, films, and programs that inspire and educate rather than those that foster fear or despair. Additionally, it means creating an environment at home and at work that reflects the values and virtues we admire. This could be as simple as keeping a clean, organized space, which in Stoic practice reflects a clear and ordered mind. Or it could involve decorating our spaces with art and symbols that remind us of our philosophical commitments, such as courage, justice, moderation, and wisdom. Seneca's words still resonate today. Hang on to your youthful enthusiasms. You'll be able to use them better when you're older. By surrounding ourselves with positivity, we are nurturing or cultivating enthusiasms that align with our higher selves. This not only enhances our own lives, but it also sets a standard and a beacon for others in our circles, creating a ripple effect of positivity. Take Stoic action. As we work to overcome negative thinking, the Stoics remind us that understanding and intention alone won't suffice. Action is crucial. As Epictetus succinctly stated, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This straightforward advice reveals a profound Stoic principle. Our ideals must be realized through our actions, not just our thoughts. Taking action, in the Stoic sense, involves engaging in behaviors and practices that reinforce our philosophical principles. It requires us to make intentional choices each day that align with the virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. By living out these virtues, we challenge negative thoughts that claim we are incapable or unworthy, rewriting our internal narrative to one of empowerment and self-efficacy. Aristotle also emphasizes the importance of action in his doctrine of the mean, where virtue is not simply a state of mind, but a characteristic formed through habitual actions. Virtue arises from practicing the balance between excess and deficiency, For Aristotle, we become just by performing just acts, brave by performing courageous ones, and temperate by acting with self-restraint. Thus, action is not just a demonstration of virtue, it's the way virtue is developed. Plato too offers insight into the transformative power of action through his theory of forms, suggesting that to know the good is to do the good. In other words, once we know what is right, our actions naturally follow. By aligning our actions with Stoic virtue, we come closer to embodying the Platonic ideal of the good, elevating both our minds and our entire selves. Carl Jung's concept of individuation, the psychological process of integrating the conscious and unconscious to reach self-actualization, further underscores the need for action. For Jung, this integration doesn't happen through contemplation alone, but through real-life encounters that challenge and expand our perspectives. He argues, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do," stressing that our true character and psychological growth are revealed through our actions. Therefore, Stoic action involves more than simply combating negative thoughts. It's about actively living out the virtues that define Stoicism. It's about making choices, both big and small, that reflect our commitment to self-improvement and philosophical integrity. Whether it's speaking kindly in a difficult moment, facing a long-standing fear, or forgiving someone who has wronged us, each action brings us closer to the person we aspire to be. Moreover, taking Stoic action means viewing life's challenges as opportunities for growth. Rather than avoiding difficult situations, Stoics see them as arenas in which to practice virtue. Each challenge is an invitation to act, whether by demonstrating resilience, practicing patience, or reaffirming our commitment to our principles.